know, I'm a big believer in the idea that the natural and organic food theme is one of the most lucrative trends of our era. But even after witnessing the strength in stocks like White Wave, Hain Celestial, or even Chipotle, there are still a ton of misconceptions out there about organic food and organic farming. Most people would probably tell you that organic food is really just for rich people, that it's not an economical way to approach agriculture, that it can't feed the world. Well, guess what? None of that's true. I just saw a terrific TED talk by Ali Partovi. He's the visionary angel investor, startup advisor, and serial entrepreneur who's co-founded and sold 2 high-profile startups and was one of the first investors to see the potential in Facebook. Lately, though, Partovi has embraced a new high-profile venture. He's an investor in Farmland LP, a company that buys regular cropland and makes it more profitable by turning it organic. In his TED Talk earlier this month, he spoke about how organic farming is actually more profitable, more efficient, and less expensive than industrial agriculture, with such a groundbreaking idea that even though it's only one of his many investments, I just had to bring him on the show to talk about it. Mr. Partovi, welcome to Mad Money.
How are you doing, Jim? Great to be here.
Well, look, I thought your talk was great. I'm going to start with the easiest question, but the hardest for our viewers. Why is organic food so expensive?
That's a really great question. It's actually a question I started asking myself because it was, when I started having my first child was born, I started caring about what food I was feeding her. And I kind of felt guilty that being affluent, I could afford food that not everybody could afford. And I felt like it should be possible for everybody, regardless of their economic status, to be able to feed their kids the healthiest, best food. And what I started finding out was that the biggest driver of the price premium for organic is just a mismatch between supply and demand. The demand for organic is enormous, and it's the fastest growing part of the food industry. Meanwhile, the supply is minuscule and is not growing fast enough to keep up with demand. And anytime you have that kind of situation, there's a systemic shortage, which means there's a lot more people who want organic food than there is product available for them. And that's what leads to high prices.
Okay, so what are some of the obstacles or headwinds toward organic food, given the fact that it really is for ordinary people? 91% of the people surveyed by Walmart want organic. Where is the holdup? Where's the blockage? Because a lot of people feel industrial agriculture's most efficient way to bring food to Americans in the world.
Yeah, so, for several decades, America's farm policy has kind of tilted the playing field. I believe in capitalism, but the invisible hand hasn't been able to do its job properly. It's had little invisible handcuffs. Essentially what's happened is that the federal policy has rewarded farmers for planting certain crops, namely maize, corn that is, and soy, which represent the vast majority of American agriculture today, and has actually penalized farmers for planting fruits and vegetables. And this has led over the past couple of decades to fruits and vegetables rising in price more than twice as fast as the overall consumer price index. Meanwhile, corn and soy kind of being plentiful, perhaps beyond what humans actually want to eat. And so the vast majority of the corn and soy crop, which is the bulk of America's agricultural output, isn't actually eaten by humans and is instead being used for other purposes like feeding livestock or to produce ethanol. Meanwhile, on the policy towards organic has been one that supports organic in a marketing sense by certifying it, but it results in limited supply. And there's a 3-year process for fields to be certified organic, and essentially there's not enough policies making that transition easy for farmers. And given the penalties and the subsidies on the other side, it's not a level playing field. So it is more profitable today to grow vegetables. Vegetables are roughly 4 times more profit per acre than corn. It's more profitable and even more profitable to grow them organically, yet the policy framework is tilted in such a way that historically that shift hasn't happened fast enough.
Well, do you
the
think
good news, though, is that policy has been shifting. So I think the latest Farm Bill is a step in the right direction, and I think that the winds have definitely changed. And so I think the future is going to look very different.
Now, organic farming people think is more expensive, but you have said in your talk that it saves money on a series of things that we really don't want, fossil fuel, fertilizer, pesticides. It's not expensive.
Yeah, so when you look at farm yields, a lot of people just look at yield per acre. You really need to look at what are all the costs of farming? And organic farming can cost a little bit more in terms of how much land you need. The latest research coming out of University of California says when done right, organic farming takes about 8% more land. It also can take more labor, but it takes a lot less fossil fuel, a lot less chemicals, a lot less money spent on the inputs you mentioned. Fertilizers are enormously expensive, not to mention bad for the environment. They're just incredibly expensive. And if you can find a way to farm that reduces those inputs, the total product at the end of the day, you might be able to produce as much food at lower total cost.
Okay,
now, this doesn't apply to every crop, but there's a lot of crops where the organic, sustainable methods are actually more productive.
All right, one last question. We happen to have the co-CEO of Chipotle on recently, and he was saying he was actually thrilled that McDonald's is getting rid of some of the antibiotics that it has in its food, that basically if McDonald's would probably fall into line, it would be better. Now, could that be because the farmers would be less incentivized to make stuff for ethanol and just feed beef?
Well, I think the thing is McDonald's has enormous power in the market. You know, what it says sends ripples throughout the entire supply chain. And so at the same time, McDonald's is also a little bit hemmed in because with great size comes, you know, a lot of inertia, and it's hard to change your direction. So I'm also really excited that McDonald's made this decision. In fact, I hope to go out and buy my first McDonald's meal perhaps in a decade just to reward them for it. So McDonald's deciding to phase out antibiotics use in their chicken is going to impact chicken production everywhere, and it'll make the supply of antibiotic-free meat a little bit more available in general. I look forward to McDonald's making the same decision for beef as well, and other decisions, and over time going to just a healthier, more sustainable supply chain.
Do you think a Heinz and Kraft can ever see the light? Those are uniquely pantry brands. They are not fresh and natural. They are inorganic to some degree in process. Can those companies change their stripes?
Yeah, well, you know, I think that merger is a good one for those companies, but I don't think it changes the trends that they're facing. They are basically, I think you said it great on the show, they're on the wrong side of food history. There is an enormous trend where all the growth and all the profit is in organic and sustainably raised foods. You know, I remember in 1998, Warren Buffett famously said that he doesn't invest in technology. He invests in things that technology won't change, such as technology won't change how people shave or how they chew gum or whether they drink Coke. Well, in fact, I think technology has dramatically changed how products are marketed and advertised. It's turned advertising on its head, and that has actually severely disadvantaged older brands like Coca-Cola or like Kraft and Heinz, because on social media, the products that are more successful are the ones that have authenticity. They're the ones that have the products that are conscientious and mission-driven, that align with people's values. You know, people aren't going to go on Facebook and post about how they just ate Velveeta. They do go and post, it's true, they do go and post about how they just bought Just Mayo from Hampton Creek, another company I'm an investor in, because they feel like they're part of a movement that it aligns with their values. And so I think even within the packaged food realm, the trend is towards food that is more values-driven, and that includes organic and sustainable. So I think for Heinz and Kraft, there is a potential for them to make new brands that align with those values, but their traditional core brands, I think, are going to be fighting an uphill battle.
Well, I think you're a terrific investor, and this sounds like a real good investment. People should start thinking about how it's economic and not just something for the rich, as you first said. Ali Partovi, Silicon Valley investor, Farmland LP advisor. Thank you so much for coming on Mad Money.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. I mean, I think we answered a lot of questions with that. It was a great TED Talk, a lot of stuff. Ali knows what he's doing. Mad Money's back into the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.